Hello friends, my name is Shivam from DevOps Schools and I will help you to enable your learning process in various technologies of DevOps, artificial intelligence, machine learning, big data and many more. This is our initiative to help you by sharing multiple tutorials and videos. And if you want any specific tutorials or any particular topic, then please do comment in the below comment section and I will help you with it. Also, please subscribe to our premium services on YouTube, which will give you access to more content and videos to enhance your knowledge about all these topics. Also, if you want me to help you with regards to the online trainings and classroom sessions by our qualified trainers, then please do write me at contact@devopsschool.com. Thank you.
How to have the infrastructure ready, how to integrate Vault with external Kubernetes, and how to run the Vault related commands on that one. So that's an advanced part of that one. So just to go with the high level view, Vault intro. So we'll be talking about how to install Vault, starting a Vault server, your first secret. These are all part of the documentation, right? It's all Vault related documentation I picked up and I tuned it. So secrets, we talk about what is secrets means, what is dynamic secrets, what is static secrets, and how do you protect your data in Vault. What is the reason, how do you protect in the first place? We'll talk about those engineering concepts and how it is implemented in Vault. And Vault configuration file, there is a HCL file which is called as a Hashicorp language file, and that's the file where you put all your configuration files so that Vault can read that configuration files and provide you an environment. And we'll be talking how to deploy Vault in production, just a view of how production thing works using console as a backend database, right? And how do you access Vault by having a secret engines, IAMs, cloud providers, those kind of third-party vendors. And we talk about Vault policies and Vault methods. So authentication methods are more towards on the third party like Azure or GCP or AWS. They have this IAM, identity access management. So Vault can integrate very well with the cloud environments. And this is what the advanced one, which I talked about, Vault on Kubernetes. How do you integrate KH cluster with external Vault? So I have this is common, what do you call, common trend after 2021. This is what the standard people needs to go. So everybody wants to go towards Kubernetes, right? Apart from the cloud, AWS or GCP or Azure, they want to implement Vault on the Kubernetes, or my applications are running on Kubernetes, but that should be authenticated to the external Vault. And that's where I'll show you some examples how to play around with some pods. We call it as pods. Applications are pods, and these pods will be connecting to, which are running on Kubernetes, will be connecting to external Vault to get authentication, read, write to the Vault. That's if you heard of microservices world, and that's where the real security thing comes into place. Every microservice should be authenticated, every microservice should be authorized, every microservices should be able to read, write the secrets and access other microservices. And we talk about injecting secrets into K8 pods with these are all Kubernetes stuff, Vault, Helm, Sidecar. So these are like into your pod, you'll be injecting certain configuration parameters towards your pods, and so that pod can talk to external Vault. And certificate manager, and Vault is also having a provision of managing certificates instead of handling by third-party agencies like CA or Let's Encrypt and cloud vendors provided certification. And a little bit troubleshooting Vault on K8s. So make sense, Prithvi and Priya, the format, the course, and the timelines?
Okay, Naren, but uh, like coming to the Vault, Hashicorp Vault, it is
Mhm.
flexible to install only in Linux boxes. Is it mandatory that it has to go with
It's
Linux
always
boxes?
advisable to do on Linux. You can do on Windows also, no problem. But it's
Okay,
always
okay,
advisable on Linux. Always advisable because these are products built on Linux. Mandatory. It's a mandatory. For me, learning from Windows is not going to learn anything, because when you do on this is a very good question. This is what I always tell, because I am very biased and very much into the engineering perspective. So every product what you talk about runs on Linux, except Leave the M word, Microsoft.NET, those kind of things. Those places are different. But learning from Linux, you learn two things. One is Linux, one is Vault itself. Any product you talk about, anything open source, right? And when something goes wrong on Windows, you have two problems here. Is it a Windows problem? Is it a Vault problem? Nobody
Yes.
knows. If it's a Linux thing, you'll have only one problem, Vault problem. If there is a problem with the Vault, never been a Linux problem. Because you have to deal with two different problems in Windows, but you have to deal with only one problem in Vault. Even there is a Linux problem. I'm not telling Linux will not have any problems or something, but it can be solvable without actually reading any documentation. Too much of noise that one version goes up, Windows version 9 to 10, 10 to 11, you have breakages everywhere. Even somebody comes with Mac. Always think about this one, where I'm going to deploy Vault. It's a very, very rare. I hear out of 10 customers, 9 customers will say they'll install on Linux only. Production. Think about production. When you do production on Linux, do dev also on Linux. That's my advice. When you start from the zero itself on the Linux, then you get benefits of going towards on production. Make sense, Prithvi?
Yeah.
You can try it on Windows, no problem on that one. But if there is a Windows problem, who will solve that problem? That's my question. You have to go and read documentation, Windows documentation. Anything on Linux? Yes, I have 100 ways to solve. And these products are first-class citizens are Linux only.
Okay.
I didn't see anywhere deploying on Windows Server 2016 or 2000 Vault or anything. I see only deployment on Linux only. Always think from deployments. Where do I deploy Vault? Is on Linux. Production. Enterprise grade is on production. Everything AWS under the hood, all things are Linux. Make sense, Prithvi?
Yes. I have one more.
Hello. Still you have question?
Yeah.
Still you can go ahead. There is nothing wrong in the not trying out, but you'll be just like a hello world kind of thing. You didn't touch the vault. You just played with a vault, a toy kind of thing. That's it.
Yeah.
It's
If it
okay
is
to
in,
try. There is nothing wrong.
yeah, if it is on
Yeah.
Windows, okay, I have flexibility
Uh-huh.
over opening the ports across any kind of device, be a Linux box or Red Hat or Windows, or it can reset DMG,
Mm-hmm.
anything. I have flexibility over there. I
Mm-hmm.
can just go ahead and create the
Mm-hmm.
firewall rule. I can allow the dedicated protocol. If it is on Linux, and again, Linux is on
Very good.
work group. Okay, so
Yes.
anyway, you'll be explaining me, but I have a doubt. I mean, like, how come it is going to, be more compatible with other products? Like, if I'm connecting a Windows server or, as you told, Kubernetes or whichever.
That's that. Yeah, Kubernetes on Linux only.
Okay.
Yeah, but we don't connect Windows at all. There is no Windows anywhere I mentioned here. That's nothing to do. Those are out of Vault. This is install on Linux, integrate with third-party vendors like Kubernetes and all. Those are all again Linux only.
Okay.
Because I never used Windows. That's what I said. I never used Windows in my life. And all productions are on Linux only for me.
Okay. If I
If you
want
are
to
able to
manage
open the
any,
ports and all Windows, you can share.
okay. If I want to
Go ahead.
manage any completely an AD or an domain controller kind of stuff, which is running on Windows, is it
Mhm.
compatible to
Mhm.
integrate with this wall?
Yes, absolutely. Only thing is that you go and read the documentation. They have provided AD documentation. They have very good documentation. I can show you all those things, how to work around those things and all. Only thing is
Okay.
that I don't have AD. That's the problem. Anything commercial, we don't have open source. That's the word I use always, open source. Open source means what open source Hashicorp provides, we'll try only those things. Now, when you talk about integrations, we are talking about those things. We have 100 integrations. You come with AD, somebody comes with GCP, somebody comes with AWS, somebody comes with Oracle Cloud, somebody comes with Azure. We can't deal with everybody's product. It's only about we need to go and read their documentation, connect with Hashicorp documentation, integrate. But what is common here is Vault is common here.
Got
Only your integration plugin changes. That's it. And everybody, including me, everybody has to strictly follow the documentation.
it.
And I told you there is a catch in this one. They will not gonna allow you just by reading 10 pages of documentation, you'll be up and running the commercial products. You have to pay for the licensing fees. You have to pay for the support, because that is how they make money. Anything commercial, you have to pay for the money. They will not give you everything out of the box of the documentation. Nobody. You have to pay for the support, and they will help you out to integrate those things.
Okay, with
Make
respect to
sense?
each and every product.
Every product. GCP, I'll give you 1,000 page of documentation. 1,000, not one, not two, not three. 1,000 pages of GCP, 1,000 pages of AWS, 1,000 pages of Azure, 1,000 pages of Idea, whatever, Active Directory and console, Nomad. They can talk about these 100 things. I'll show you those things, how complicated they make it. But only one thing is common is, like, you are good at AD, you should go and learn about Vault and integrate AD with the Vault and depend on their documentation to do the stuff.
Okay.
I use Kubernetes. And at least you understand the flow. The bottom line here is, you need to understand the flow. You need to know where to find the documentation. You need to know how to read the documentation. These are not like a Microsoft documentation that I can give you guarantee. These are important documentation. These are engineering documentation. Microsoft documentation, you read today, tomorrow it will be out of scope or out of deprecated or something like that. Here they write like an engineering perspective, and we need to keep up to date. Every version changes, and we need to keep up to date with a lot of moving parts, and I'll share you all those things, right? So that's what it is actually. So this is purely Vault, how to install Vault, how to play with the authentication methods, how to play with the policies, how to play with the secret engines, how to create a static or dynamic secrets. That's the goal of this one. That's what everywhere. And Kubernetes is an advanced one, and this is the standard Vault to play with the Vault integrations. That's all tied up to the commercial things. Everybody has their own configurations. I work with one of the customer on the LDAP side. They have totally different configurations, and they use Terraform to spin up those things. So like this, every customer, and it's not difficult. Once you learn the fundamentals, once you learn the engineering principles, what is the use of Vault, how Vault is getting used, and how do I integrate with other things? That's the first thing. Understanding Vault is a big thing. That's more important here. That's what our goal here is all about. Vault integration is all about. You need to get your product there. You need to connect the Vault to. Those are all the part of the documentation which I'm going to share with you.
Okay.
Make sense, Prithvi?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
So let's talk about engineering perspective. First of all, people miss the point. People come with the problems. That's always good. Nothing wrong in that one. But people need to look at what is the product, what is the technology we are learning, what kind of problems it is solving, and what is the skill set I have, and what are the problems I'm going to solve with the Vault. That's what you need to keep on asking questions. Integration is one part. We need to understand even the application developers. End of the day, it is used by application developers, right? Not by infrastructure guys, right? Sysadmins or anybody. So we need to integrate with them, and they'll be coming with their own problems. So integration will be what do you call, a long-term job to work on those things. So let's talk about what is a Hashicorp Vault actually, and what problems does a Vault solve, and what are the features of Vault. What is the difference between open source and enterprise? This is what I was sharing before. And what are the it's a very components are very three components: secret engines, authentication, policies, and audit. Those are three different components, very simple concepts, but when you implement, you learn more at that time. And Vault paths, and we need to keep repeating this one. Vault path is one of the important thing in the Vault ecosystem itself. How does the secrets get enabled or mounted into the Vault tool itself? I should not use word called as tool. It's like a platform for secret management. That's what we need to say it as, rather than a tool. So what is a Vault here, right? So before even going to this one, this is where an application developer skills comes into place here. So this is the common question I ask people. These are coming from an application developer. Actually, previously it's a Java or a C++ or a Python, anything. We store all the things, the secrets, in the configuration files, in the properties files, right? So previously this is the olden tradition, and still we do. There is nothing wrong in that one, but that's the way, because it's inside our firewall, inside our data center, inside everything is inside, so we can play around. And that's the pre-Vault era. So you put the configuration files, you username and passwords, and all the configuration goes into properties files. It will be a plain text file. And I believe my colleague in the same company or the same team will even have access to all those things. But I believe that he's not outsider, he's insider, but he can see it. But there is no security there. in the sense that everybody can see it who has access to those configuration files. But assuming that they are part of the same company, they will not screw around with those things. And that's the security loophole Vault has identified, just because now we are moving towards the microservices, Kubernetes, and cloud environments. We have lots and lots of moving parts here, and sharing the username and passwords are not effective when you go into cloud environment. In financial world, we call it as an audit thing. We need to provide audits, who is accessing what. Even if you're an employee of the same company, you should not access those additional applications or additional services. You should not do that one. And that's auditing kind of thing. So what Vault provides is, it provides a platform to secure, store, tightly control the access of the tokens, passwords, certificates, encryption keys, protecting sensitive data, other secrets in the dynamic infrastructure. When we say dynamic infrastructure, previously it's all static infrastructure. This is pre-cloud era. I come from a static infrastructure. I have a fixed set of servers and fixed set of applications. That's how I manage those applications and manage those servers. And now from 2010, world has moved to cloud environment. And there is a difference between on-premises data center and a cloud environment. So on-premises means, it's, as I told, the data center is owned by my own company. I have sysadmins, I have database administrator, I have network administrator, I have storage administrator. I have every kind of administrator sitting in my own company, and they are my own employees, and it works seamlessly across only in my environment. Those are static things. Those are not keep on changing stuff. If a DBA guys or a storage guy or anybody, network administrator or application developer, administrator, system administrator, or these people, they can have their own user IDs and passwords in their notepads, in their notebooks, or wherever it is, and that is not a safe way. And they can store it in all the encryption methods, but that's not a safer way. Just because we trust them, we are good to go. But we have moved away from that environment to the cloud environment, where the infrastructure itself is a dynamic thing. Previously, the servers are named with, this server belongs to this application, these servers are part of this databases, these servers are part of this operating system. So those are all static things, and those are all maintained by these sysadministrators in the organization. Application developers talk to them, production operations and all. But because of static of nature, it's, the user ID passwords are not secured, because it's not keep on changing. It's not secure first in the place. And we believe that just because it's in our data center, we are secure. But now we are moving towards the dynamic infrastructure, which is a cloud environment, where we spin up or we scale up the VMs or servers up and down dynamically. And we don't tie up, this particular server belongs to this application, this particular server is held by this guy. It's like a cloud itself says that one. It should be dynamic. Dynamic in the sense, anything can go up and down, anything can be deleted, anything can be up and running within seconds. And that's called as, and everything changes, IP addresses, firewalls, everything gets changed. And in order to address that kind of scalability, you can't have a static IDs, passwords, and all those things. Now, when you put in a cloud, even if you have VPCs, private networks, and all those things, still you need to manage your identity access management through their cloud vendors. And when you think about microservices, previously I used to deal with 5 or 10 applications at the most for my team. Now the world of you heard of microservices before, guys? Heard of microservices?
No.
Uh, no.
No.
Hello. Right. So okay,
No.
let me tell that one. So nowadays the world is all on the serverless. This is what I said, right? It's an applications. People need to understand how these applications work, because end of the day, the applications are the things which are consuming your usernames and passwords. For end user, yes, he can enter his username and password to enter, but end of the day, the applications are the guys who are actually interacting with each other to talk to each other. Right. So microservices is nothing but, it's a small set of applications, a single monolithic application. Let's assume there is one e-commerce application. Previously, it might be one jar file in a Java world. One jar file, I get deployed. It has multiple 10 to 20 components talking to each other. And if one component goes down, it can make other components also miserable by making it down also. So what microservices in cloud world, in Kubernetes world does is, we divide that monolithic application into 20 or 30 microservices, everybody doing independent jobs. It is easy for deployment. Like there is a payment gateway, there is an order gateway, there is a front end, there is a back end, there is a database. So everybody is directly coupled in pre-microservices world. We call it as an app. This is an Amazon app deployed in Amazon Web Services. That's it. Amazon.com deployed on Amazon Web Services. But now the world is not like that. It's payment gateway deployed in Amazon Web Services. It's orders, invoices about the product catalog. How to use everything on the e-commerce site. Everything is a single microservice, and there are groups of microservices talking to each other, right? And that way, what is the flexibility it provides here is you divide a single application into multiple components. These are loosely coupled components, and individual team can build their own application and start deploying it in their own speed and velocity by testing it out and by rolling out in production. Previously, when it's a monolithic application, 10 teams should come towards one goal, saying that one individual team will be building this application. End of the day, there is a QA team, again 20 people or 30 people, testing that one for 3 months, integrating all the components. Then after 4 or 5 months, that product goes into production. And then when something goes wrong, again we have to start the same cycle. So that's a very lengthy 6 months to 7 months to deploy an application. Is a very time consuming, money and everything, troubleshooting, everything is a huge challenge. When this new thing, cloud and microservices, came into place, everybody can build their own applications, everybody can build their own business logic, they can go and deploy it. And it's a lightweight, you can go deploy, you can test it out, and you can integrate very well easily with other microservices, other applications. Think like microservice is just an application, a component in a bigger application. Now the world has changed. Now we are on internet. It's a wild west. Security is a big challenge. Current world focuses on security on the hardware side, on a host side, on the Linux side or a Windows side. You set up firewalls, you set up security for user ID, password, whoever is entering into that services, whatever you're accessing. Now we are using API keys also. These things you use day in and day out. API keys, if you use GitHub, so that's the way authentication of GitHub happens, through API keys, application program interface. This is a token based, means that user ID is tomorrow. Let's look at 2022. Let's assume that one GitHub will be removing all the usernames and passwords. The world is going towards API based, token based. Token is a short lived, and you exchange, you authenticate, and it gives you a token. And with that token, you can have that session active. And after completion of the job, of the time, TTL, time to live, then it will be automatically revoked or it will be automatically removed. So you have to get a new token. Means that you don't pass on username and password every time the same thing. Indirectly, you have to deal with the tokens. And certificates, you might have heard certificates. These are PKI certificates, public key infrastructure certificates, where Vault can help on creating a certificate manager. We'll see in one use case how to handle the certificates. Currently, these certificates are handled by the third-party agencies and the cloud vendors. Users has to depend on them to validate. If you see HTTPS, right? So that certificate is validated by third-party vendor. So how can I assume that one ICICI.com is a valid website or not? Phishing attacks and all those things through certificates, because some third-party vendor is authorizing those certificates for this ICICI.com, the bank or whatever the HTTPS protocols use. And based on that one only, you can access that one. Tokens, encryption keys, we talk about those things. And where do Vault fits in, right? So previous world, before Vault, everybody uses Active Directory. That's why usernames and password, these are Microsoft things.
Naren,
Now we have
sorry.
Azure Active Directory. Now we have, yeah.
This microservices,
Good.
who was created? Which company is holding that microservice, or it is an open platform?
No. Okay. Microservice is not owned by anybody. It's applications. Just it's an application. It can be your application. It can be anybody's applications. Microservices are built by developers. Developer builds the applications, right?
Okay, it's based on the requirement, or like how many components has to be interacted, or a number of components also can be interacted with microservices, the way they built.
Okay. Here, microservices is applications. You have a team of application developers, right? Right. Those people develop applications, right? What kind of applications your team develop or your company develops? They might be developing some business applications, right? It's a banking application, retail application, any kind of applications, right? Those are for developer. And these are Vault is used by developers for secret management. You are coming from an admin background. All you will be worried about is I will install Vault, I'll configure Vault with AD, and I will make sure that the firewalls or whatever the things are there, I'll enable those things. But end of the day, you will be giving Vault to your application developers.
Exactly.
Right? And those application developers are actually building this microservices.
Okay.
They are, just treat it microservices like an application. That's it.
Oh, got
When you
it.
see console and all movement and all, yeah, that's it. Nothing fancy there. Just because when we talk about microservices, as I told previously, only one Java file, one big jar file has a property file, username, password, whatever keys it has. That's all. It gets deployed in production. Now that's only one user ID password. But nowadays the world is changed. Microservices means every microservices will have user ID password, keys, tokens. Let me put it that way: tokens or keys or anything. And if you have hundreds of microservices making one, let's put it, Amazon.com have 1,000 microservices. Everybody's working towards one goal, serving you Amazon.com website. That's what it is. Make sense, Prithvi?
Got it.
Okay. So now you can see the map now, right? So Active Directory, that's an enterprise. When you see on the left-hand side, that enterprise is your in-house data center. You own it, as I was telling repeatedly. You own the system administrator, network administrator, storage administrator, every kind of administrator, every kind of application, guys, everybody, you own it. You own the data center, and those are managed by your own people, your company. They have the same badge. That is moving away towards AWS, Azure, and GCP. Now you're running your infrastructure, running your applications on somebody's third-party environments. One is AWS, one is Azure, GCP, and that will hold thousands and thousands of applications. Let me put it this way, thousands and thousands of vendors. You don't even know where it is running. You may be specifying, okay, this region, but you don't know. You are the only guy occupying the servers. There might be multi-tenants. It will be a single rack of servers, and individual rack will have individual customers. And everybody gets scared. How come my applications are running on somebody's servers and somebody's servers sitting on the same rack? But that is what the cloud thing comes into place here. They manage those things. That is what they play a very important role. That's how they make money, ton of money, just because they are managing multi-tenants. They are providing all the network isolation, system isolation, everything through virtual private cloud and VPC connections and all those things. Now think about the complexity. This is what you need to think about. When every company will have their own in-house, if possible, and some companies will be using AWS, some company will be using Azure, some company will be GCP. Let's assume your own company. There are 4 different teams, and one guy will be like thinking about, I'm an AWS guy. One guy will be thinking, let's go and deploy in Azure. One guy will be talking about GCP. Kubernetes is good in GCP. So we are living in a hybrid environment. And living in a hybrid environment, now think about user ID, passwords, tokens, encryptions, keys and all, moving from on-premises where your team handled everything, 10 people or 5 people, whatever the strength of the team. Now you're going to a multi-cloud vendor. Now I need an AWS expert. Now I need an Azure expert. Now I need a GCP expert. Application is same, but you are dealing with the different vendors, and you can't say no to that one. I'll be working only on AWS. I'll be taking only on Azure or GCP. Now think about the complexity added here when your applications are communicating in this environment. An application sitting in AWS communicating with Azure, an Azure application communicating with GCP. That becomes much more complicated because you're dealing with multi-hybrid environment. And handling secrets, handling encryption is not a fun game here. So you have to read about IAM, that requires one specialization. Azure Active Directory, that requires one specialization. Cloud IAM, that requires one specialization. So only one thing consistent here is the Vault thing. Now that is what our next slide is. If I have, how do I solve that multi-hybrid, multi-complicated things? Nobody, I can assure you, nobody is expert in everything.
Along with that, you can access our other tutorials such as Docker, Ansible, Jenkins, Terraform, Splunk, AWS, Azure, and various other DevOps related premium tutorials with our channel membership. If you would have any issues with our channel membership, you can drop an email to us at contact@devopsschool.com, or you can also unsubscribe from channel membership anytime if you don't want to continue or did not like the video. To get our channel membership, click onto the join button, select the $399 plan and grow your skills immensely. Please be kind enough to like it, and you can comment any of your doubts and queries. We will reply to them at the earliest. Thanks for watching.